Shalom, first and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Harachakwadash, the born and speaking to the apostles, and elders at Great Millstone who were well and have taught us this 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful. He elect to push not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity to all you Achim. I do say Shalom. I'm coming in with a quick lesson, going to the book of Habakkuk, the first chapter. Verse 1, which doth read, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see, which that word burden in the Hebrew, if I'm pronouncing it right, would be mash'ah. Root word etymology from Strong's H5375, nash'ah. Which, if I remember correctly, I've been taught that you have to emphasize, you're supposed to spell the or pronounce it, not spell it out, pronounce it, right? But yeah, here it says to lift, bear up, carry, take, carry off. But you go back to Strong's 4853, it means load, bearing, tribute, burden, lifting. But you get the gist of it. It's a weight to carry. Strong's definition, a burden, specifically tribute or abstractly porterage. I don't know that term. Looking at the definition, the work of carrying luggage, supplies, or other materials done by porters or laborers. Okay, that makes sense now. Figuratively, an utterance, chiefly a doom. Right, like when you read the scriptures where it talks about here's the burden of Babylon, things like that. It's really an utterance, the other words, and the message being uttered to Babylon. It's a doom, chiefly a doom meaning death, destruction, or some other terrible fate. So an evil message, essentially. Especially singing, mental desire, burden, carry away, prophecy. They said, song, tribute. Well, singing can be likened, or prophesying can be likened to singing, right, as it is written in the book of Ezekiel. They have received it as a very you are unto them as a very lovely song, right? Ezekiel the 33rd chapter, verse 32, which doth read, in verse 31, and they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. Which is really going on, because you look into the New Testament and it makes to mention how we're supposed to be doers, not just hearers, man. Right? That's in the book of Romans, the 2nd chapter, verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before Yahweh, but the doers of the law shall be justified. Which, no flesh shall be saved by the law, but, what's it called? It's just one of those traits the elect will be doing. If you truly believe in something, you'll do what's commanded of you, right? If you believe in Yahweh Shai, if you truly love Him, you'll keep His commandments as written. That's literally precept. If you love me, keep my commandments, right? So I remember the elder Manatazakba was going into that from the South Carolina camp. He was making the mention. Now, if you truly believe, you're gonna do what's expected, right? So, James, and that's the thing, man. That's the thing. These people, when they hear about the so-called black Hebrew Israelites, man. They like to make the mention how it's it's a thing of oppression, right? What's it called? As associated with the Israelites, but they like to make it out like we're looking for an identity, a purpose, like we're looking for a sense of belonging. It ain't no mother flipping sense of belonging, man. When I found out I was an Israelite, and came into this truth, the truth at I started watching Sakari when I was 14 years old. And then I found GMS a few months after turning 15, right? So at the ripe age of 15, what's it called? I didn't feel no sense of belonging. Hell no, I felt a sense of urgency, man. I felt a sense of urgency. We talking about sense of belonging. Oh, these people have been so oppressed. They're looking for an identity. They're having a crisis. Oh my gosh! And that's all Esau that be saying that shit, man. But what's it called? They have many layers of defense to be able to keep bringing us down, right? When what's it called, being a Hebrew Israelite, that's a lineage. You belong to a certain nation, right? So the word of Yahweh Bahasham was for ordaining us spirits, the nation of Israel. Hell, imagine waking up to be an Edomite. Oh hell no. But what's it called? That's my train of thought. right, what's it called? This thing is this thing ain't about being a part of a community. I remember the other Apostle Gabar did a lesson. This was like on his old GMS Daily Edification 3 channel before it got terminated. Now it's Daily Edification 4, but in an old video on Daily Edification 3, if I remember correctly, he had done a lesson going to how Baal is a god of the community. And how the elect are really outcasts. You try and ingrain yourself, you try and be part of the world, man. You going off, and really, what's it called? That's the thing, because going back to First John, the 2nd chapter, if I remember correctly, it goes in being not lovers of the world. Yeah, verse 15, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. Right, so all these trends, I can always go, talk bad about trend setting, man. And if you try and bring in, some world crap into this truth, you mar in this thing, man. Like brew rap, right? Merchandising the truth, which that's all going off, man. We're not for the rudiments and the traditions of men. Also, like the merchandising thing. Hey, what happened back in the temple, back when Yahushua was on the scene? He got down on those niggas, man. He got down on them. He was literally, the other apostle Tahar made the mention, Yahushua was literally, whipping whipping the asses, man. Beating them down. And that's man of the Lord, that's the second in command. That's the only begotten Son. So the idea that he's this happy, goody two-shoe character, is just you make him come out like some kind of fairy tale. You make him look effeminate when Yahushua wasn't effeminate. No, he was a real man. He was the realest man on the planet Earth. What's it called? This great man. He endured so much temptation. He was literally sinless. He literally got murdered, man. Now, obviously, that was prophecy, him being sacrificed, without blemish, without blemish meaning to be sinless. But God, you have to realize, man, he was the only individual in this flesh to be sinless. And then he knew he had to die. And yeah, though he was anxious that one night, when he got persecuted, he still sucked it up. He endured every single thing. And that is my Lord and Savior, Yahushua Mashiach. That is that great man. So you best believe he was a real man. He ain't no soft man. No. He's a hardcore man. He's an austere man. Hell, I bet if, I came face to face with Yahushua, he'd be rebuking me right now. Correcting me. Hey, what you doing? Like, what's it called? What's up with this and that? All right, what's it called? I bet if I met him face to face and I told him, oh yeah, I was shy. Oh my sweet Lord and Savior, I love you. He'd be like, nigga, we talking about loving me. What's it called? You let me keep my commandments, And he'd be heading on me probably. So he wasn't this soft dude. No. He was a man. Don't ever liken him to a dude. He's a man, right? But I digress. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahweh abideth forever. The will, right? So, being a doer. If you're Salaki, did I make the mention how if you're a doer, then you're cut? No, Salaki. I'm gonna say a hearer. If you hear but don't do, then you're cut. And to do is to do the will. To be a doer is he that doeth the will. Right? What's it called? Doing what's expected of you, and I speak to myself first and foremost on this matter. Verse 17 in the NLT, and this world is fading away along with everything, but everything that people crave, right? People crave adultery. That's why a lot of women, so-called sisters, that they were in this thing, they suddenly fall out, and they end up getting popped by all kinds of men, being the community bicycle. And why? Because it was one of their desires, anyways. It was a deeply held within to want to get popped by all kinds of dudes. But they just couldn't bear the fact that they had to stick with one man while that man gets to deal with a lot of women. So they fall out. Right, and that's why a lot of so-called sisters, and I say so-called because that's just, they like to portray themselves as such, but really, inwards and behind the scenes, they really goddamn demons, man. I'm a second-hand witness to this. I've been a legit witness to that, man. Which I've never been married, but I'm regarding, family incident. But yeah, I remember the other Apostle Roundlob in an old lesson, he made the mention how there's more chance of a harlot getting delivered than a so-called sister. And when I say so-called, I am referring to the actual ride or die, sisters of GMS. Those sisters, obviously, what's it called? They're trying to do what's up, they're trying to do right. And yeah, how about Hashem, how about this? They do get delivered, right? Just as the men. But the other apostle around let me mention how so-called sister has less chance of being delivered than a harlot, because a harlot knows that she's worthless, man. She knows that she's something to be used up. She's humble. And that goes to show you, man. That same idea, that concept he brought to light in that lesson. That goes to show you how the Lord really has that spirit put upon everybody. Because I remember before I even saw that lesson, I had the same idea. So the fact that, I'm watching this video and he's saying that same thing I thought about without ever being, taught, that's a spirit, man. That's a spirit. So the water, Yahweh Bash, I was shy. For giving me the spirit. Giving us a spirit. What's it called? I'm going to go back to, what was I initially? Oh, that's right. Doer. James 1:23. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. In the NLT it reads, for if you listen to the word and don't obey, it is like glancing at your face in the mirror. You see yourself walk away and forget what you look like. Right, and like you forget what you're told to do. But you're not supposed to forget. One example will be the fringes. You look on that to remember the law. Right? And that's why, hearers, they ain't getting delivered. What are they doing except for just having an acknowledgement that Yahweh Shai exist, that they're not the Israelites? Well, what did the other Apostle Gabar say? Tutors that know that they're Israelites, they have no right in calling themselves Israelites because they don't do as expected. They don't seek the old past. They don't continue off tradition, right? And then we tell them all these ancient ideas, really biblical, really righteous, really righteous ideas, and then they get butthurt. We tell you, a man can deal with multiple women. A man can't technically cheat. You get butthurt. Or we tell you, and this is really like one of the more sensitive topics in this world. But the idea that you could really get with a young woman, not 18. That's a modern institution, arbitrary law, right? But in the ancient world, that wasn't the case. Like the other Apostle Tahar makes the mention, it was like from the age of 12, and upward. But that's one of those sensitive topics. And hey, I'll defend the doctrine. I'll defend the doctrine of that. Hey, but we got to keep the laws of the land as written. Keeping the laws of the land. So, hey, if we're not allowed to do it on this side, then we have to wait in the kingdom then. Right? Keeping the laws of land. Right? That's wisdom right there. That's a command. Romans 13, And 1 through 2, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh. The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh. Whosoever therefore resisted the power, resisted the ordinance of Yahweh. Right. And but what's it called? Ultimately, everything will be restored in the kingdom, so there'll be that. Going back, verse 4 in the KJV, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. The NLT reads, so let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. And now I'm going to go back to Ezekiel, the 33rd chapter. Verse 31. But I'm going to reread the whole thing. And they come unto thee as a people cometh, and they sit before thee as my people, and they hear thy words, but they will not do them. Right? So they're hearers, but not doers. For with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. For with their mouth they show much love. And right, what's it called? They honor the Lord with their lips, but their heart is far from him. That's a scripture right there. For with their mouth they show much love. Right, they all talk. Hey, but they can't. But can they walk? Hell no. They talk the talk, but can't walk the walk. That's a quote. Right, for with their mouth they show much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness, which that word heart goes back to the Hebrew word lav, meaning mind, the brain. Right, without the covetousness. That word in the Hebrew, if I'm pronouncing it right, batazai, something like that. Batazai, I don't know. Batazai and I. Those are the letters right there. The outline of biblical usage: profit, unjust gain, profit, acquired by violence. Right, profit. And really, we're not supposed to be, our minds are not supposed to be set on money, this and then the third. Right, what's it called? Our money, so like our minds are supposed to, be focusing on actual important things, man. Like wisdom. Hell, it's in the scriptures where it reads, wisdom is far better than rubies. I'll pull that out. Far more precious, right? Proverbs 3:15 through 17. And this is in the NCV, New Century Version. Wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you could want is equal to it. With their right hand, wisdom offers you a long life. Exactly. What we think money gives you a long life? Hell no. Right? What happens eventually? All that money runs out, or your time runs out, man. Hey, I forget who. One of the elites, man. One of the elites. Whether it be a Rothschild or Rockefeller, I forget. One of them. From one of them families, who had an Edomite who's now in the spirit world. He was like an old dude, and he kept on, wasting money on heart transplants. Eventually, the Lord dropped him, So that goes to show you that money can't buy you happiness, and it can't buy you, long life. Wisdom does that, man. Wisdom does that. And there are many aspects that go on to, like, for example, with wisdom comes the ideal, keeping the law to the best of your abilities. And as the other Apostle Ramla put it, put that the laws are the right hand ways, the righteous ways to please the Lord. Right? I'll pull out a quick precept. Yeah, Proverbs 3:1, my son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments for length of days. For keeping the law, man, if you don't forget it, you remember it. If you don't forget, if you remember, you'll have long life. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Exactly. So with her right hand wisdom offers you a long life, and with her left hand she gives you riches and honor. Right? What's it called? That daily bread stuff, man. What's it called? Money comes and goes. You get it. And ultimately, if you seek wisdom right now, what's it called? Eventually you get your riches and things like that in the kingdom. right? Hey, trust. It's like no, it's I forget the precept. Delight thyself in the Lord, and He shall give thee thy desires. To roughly paraphrase, right? Wisdom will make your life pleasant and will bring you peace. Yeah, exactly, man. And you have that one song, My Way, and you had various individuals that sang it. A notorious individual would be Frank Sinatra. He was all talking about, I did it my way. Which, that song's really going off, man. Because all those men, they wicked. They don't have no truth. They don't have no truth. So, they're just accepting all their all their wrongdoings, and what's it called? The elect. They're also flawed individuals, but they have wisdom. And when they look back, man, what's it called? Then I guess you could apply that song, what's it called, in the positive note, that what's it called? They did good. Like if the other Apostle Gabar, for example, were looking back on his actions in his lifetime, well into the kingdom, he'd be like, no, man, what's it called? The water Yahweh Shemel was shy. He gave me wisdom, and through wisdom, I lived a good life. Because although it was hell, what's it called? It was thanks to wisdom, which altered his actions and made life pleasant to an extent, right? But if you're not in the truth, man, you relying on the wisdom of this world, which is really foolishness, as it is read in the scriptures, right? The wisdom of this world is folly. Then you have a terrible life. You have terrible feats, terrible events that perspired. Hell no, man. I'm not trying to remember living a life of bullcrap. I'm trying to live a life of just. Even though this lifetime and really pretty much all the lifetimes in this side of the world, even though it was all hell, oppression, captivity, a lot of what's it called, downs, unexpected turn of events, blah blah. What's it called? It was I'll be looking back and I'm like, yeah, I did some good things back then, huh? What's it called? I digress. Proverbs 8:11, the NIV, for wisdom is far more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Yep, true that. It was called, wisdom is so prominent, it was with the Most High during creation. Right? Wisdom ain't something to make light of. No, it's an important thing. Right? It's an essential in this truth. The men of the Lord are found in wisdom, man. Starting off with the elder apostle Tahar, and those three men on down, right? The rest of the apostles, the others, the other bishops, right? You men on down. Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai is chosen, right? Hey, what's it called? Then wisdom comes from the Lord. Yahweh is the power of wisdom. Hey, what's it called? That was in the book of James. Yeah, I think I didn't. I passed by it. I didn't read it though. Yeah, verse 5. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Point blank, period. So he is a power. He controls that. You got to ask him in prayer, right? But continuing on. But their heart goeth after their covetousness, and we're not supposed to be set on money, right? We're not supposed to be subservient to mammon. He is not our master. Our master is Yahweh, man. Salakia. Damn keyboard. Or damn fingers. Anyways. Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahweh and mammon. Right? Which mammon goes in the money. Right? You're supposed to be subservient to Yahweh, right? We've been called to this thing, servants of righteousness' sake, right? Not servants to sin. So all that, get rich quick shit, all the pyramid schemes and whatnot, it's really going off, and it really backfires, man. It really backfires. And besides, we ain't got not much time to be building up businesses, man. Talking about, I'm gonna create a clothing brand. I'm going to create a pizzeria. Yeah, I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna whatever the freaking hell they do, man. Telemarketing. I don't freaking know. Drop shipping. What do people do? Which even that's difficult as how to freaking circumnavigate how to make profit from that. You know, and then when you delve onto all these courses, I remember being young. What's it called? Looking up in all these courses like, oh, how to get rich, how to get rich. At least my brother was on to that, and I used to observe him. He was constantly bombarded with course scammers on Instagram and whatnot, or on YouTube, telling you how to do it step by step. But their step by step, it's really vain because they're using big words, man. They can't even break it down properly. They can't break it down in layman's, right? So all that talking is just they're talking to the goddamn air. Ain't no profit. I mean, it's profit to them, but it doesn't profit anybody else, right? So it's all just vain. All is vanity. I digress. However, verse 32: and lo, thou art unto them as a and lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. And the point right there was that, hey, the prophets are likened to those that are singing. And I remember slack it. I remember back in senior year of high school, it was like the following Monday, if I recall correctly. I think it was a Monday. If not, it was a Tuesday. I think it was a Monday. It was Monday morning. And you had this one Jake. He was a junior and I'm a senior, but he's a junior. And he told me, hey, I saw you at the plaza. And I was like, oh, really? What was I doing? And he was like, you were like singing. You had a dress and you had a book, but you were singing. It looked like you were singing. And I was like, yeah, I guess I was singing. Because, it was camp. It was camp. Hey, but that was really the spirit. When he attributed it to like when that was singing. Hey, because it says, and lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice and can play well on an instrument. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Hey, verse 33, man, I like this one a lot in the NLT. But when all these terrible things happen to them, as they certainly will, then they will know a prophet has been among them. What terrible things? If you see anything popping off like tornadoes and earthquakes, we had like 9,700 earthquakes, I think, this year alone. And so on and so forth. To see all these, like what's it called right now in Gary, Indiana? If I pronounced that right. Is that Gary? Is that what it is, Gary, Indiana? Yeah, there's a whole power outage because of, natural disaster. And I can have done videos already, and they're showing you clips on TikTok and whatnot. These people out here, what's it called, that are uploading videos to TikTok. They show you how bad it's gotten. Like, it's so dark in the middle of the night. It looks like it's a desolate wilderness. Hey, peep, that's the exact photo I was looking at. Peep that, man. The only light, the only illumination in this clip, it's coming from the chick's car. If I recall, there's a chick talking. But everything else dark as flip. And you see that sign right there, well, obviously that's gonna, shine because reflection. I forget, that whole sign's banded. But anything else, pitch black, man. Pitch black. You can't even see the outline of trees, around this area. You could barely make it out over here. You see some squiggles right there. Day 6, no power, pitch black, dark for miles, no gas, no food, no God damn, man. Massive blackouts hit Gary, Indiana after severe 100 miles per hour straight line winds and historic rainfall throughout the region. Help peep this. How many earthquakes? Oh yeah, also this. How many celebrities died this month? I searched that up this morning. This is this month alone. While the exact tallies fluctuate daily and depend on how celebrities define, over a dozen notably actors, musicians, athletes, and public figures have passed away worldwide so far in August 2026. Hayden Panettiere died yesterday. And this one, came as a surprise to me, man. This one shook me. I was like, God, what the flip? No way. Hey, but, they're on the spirit world. They're chilling. They're chilling in the spirit realm. Vincent Pastor. Now, some of these guys died old age. As for Hayden, 36 years old, that's premature. That's a premature death. How many earthquakes have we had so far? About 20,000 earthquakes happen worldwide every year, which is really 55 a day. 55 a day. Hold up. In 2026, though the vast majority are very small, as of mid-August 2026, over 9,600 total noticeable earthquakes have been logged globally for the year. 11 major events tracking close to the typical annual average of 15, magnitude 7.0, 7.9. Right, so, and the Lord's been judging the hell out of those places. Venezuela got hit with it, if I remember correctly. What's it called? Colombia as well. Magnitude 4.2 hit Colombia. Yesterday, no, that was 2 days ago. 2 days ago at 5:18. Colombia, earthquake. A lot of people dropped dead, man. Death toll. 294, things like that. The 1556 Shangxi, if you pronounce it that way, I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it. Earthquake, also known as the Jiajing earthquake, struck Shanxi, I don't know how to pronounce that, province, China on January 23, 1556 during the Ming Dynasty. It is recorded as the deadliest earthquake in human history with an estimated death toll of around 830,000 people. 830,000 people, god damn. That's how much people dropped dead. And keep in mind, this was several hundred years ago. Not circa 2026, but 1556. Right, which, hey, that's still the end of the world. Because really the end started with Yahushua's birth, but it ultimately happened when he departed. When he went back to the spirit world, that's when the end truly began, man. Those last days. Those are the last days, man. And what's it called? A day in the Lord's eyes is but 1,000 years. So it's only been like a few days. Up in the spirit realm, even though 1556 is like hundreds of years ago. But that's still at the end of the world. This is still qualified as end of the world. That time frame. So it fits it perfectly. That's that still goes to show you that prophecy is still underway. Right, 2nd Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, Measure thou time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest one of the heavenly Father's titles will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that are before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And even so, the times also the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. So we at the end of this thing. There's so many earthquakes, man. Look at this chick. She is distressed. She is grieved. She is bereaving locals' deaths, man. And that is one of the plagues the Lord is bringing upon this place. One of the many plagues. Right, I'll pull out the book of 2nd Ezra 15:5. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Right. 15:26. For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. And again, the wages of sin is death, so it makes perfect sense why that be the case. 1549, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. 16 and 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And it's a very vexing thing to the people in the world. If it's already, what's it called, troublesome for us as well. Now, obviously, the eye can make the mention, hey, let the old mortal thoughts and be ye excited. But even then, it does incite a bit of fear within us. Behold us in humility. So if that already affects us, man, how much more the people without this truth, that have no knowledge, that have bigger picture. They don't have a bigger picture. They live in ignorance, which ignorance is bliss to them. But hey, what shall happen when sudden destruction cometh as a thief in the night? Hey, best believe they'll be greatly, bereaved. They'll be in anguish. It'll be very terrible for them, man. Right? So yeah, when all these terrible things happen to them, as they certainly will, then will they know that a prophet has been among them. Right? But now I digress back to, who was the original precept that was on? Was it Habakkuk? Right. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. Oh yeah, I was looking at the definition of burden, and that's where you had the significance of singing. So yeah, what's it called? Singing can be attributed to, or it's like prophesying can be attributed to singing. And prophesying is what? Speaking on future events, speaking on events before they happen, and this utterance, it's really a message you are relaying to someone or something. In this case, it's a thing. The great harlot, man, Babylon, right? This master of evils, this chief of nations, man. That's whom this message is being delivered unto. And it's a terrible message. It's burdensome. All right. It's so burdensome that Esau's gonna start cracking down and persecuting the elect, feminine of the word and stuff. Right. And that goes to show you how this place is really corrupt. It was never biblical. It was never for the Lord. Because just as they say, there's back in the day, they used to say it was a biblical land. They used to keep the law and whatnot. And, trusting in God, but that ain't really the case. Hell, if you speak on God, suddenly you get canceled. And it's a very problematic thing. Though you have certain schools with the institution of no discrimination, regarding religion and whatnot. But if you speak on it, it's going to be a problem. You're going to end up in the office or something like that. So the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord Yahweh, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear, even cry unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save? Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Right? That's all Esau, man. Esau's all about, what's they call it, strife and contention. That's his whole motive. That's his whole thing, to take the peace away from the earth. He was never for any. He was never for any goodness, right? And if you got any so-called positive defeats coming from an Edomite, a so-called white man, hey, chances are either that's a Jake, it looks like an Edomite, or it's a legit Edomite but a low-ranking one. Because we know there are those low-ranking Edomites that have pity and whatnot. But most of the nation, they corrupt as flip. They corrupt as hell. Therefore, the law is slacked, and the NLT reads, the law has become paralyzed. It has become paralyzed. It's at a halt. It's been paused. Right? If you were really going by biblical proportion, things would be a lot different. things will be a lot different instead of there being multiple facets of it, municipal jurisdiction. Then you got your state laws and then your federal laws and blah blah, and certain laws may differ between states and whatever. Policy this and you have what's it called, corrupt organizations that hire the best lawyers to defend themselves and whatever the friggin' hell, even if it means beating the case against an innocent family or whatever. So therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth, for the wicked doth confess about the righteous, therefore my judgment proceedeth. Right, and when Jake is on trial, they get longer sentences compared to, the low-ranking Edomites who go blazing and killing off everybody, man. Right. Behold ye among the heathen in regard. Yeah, so what's it called? That's why I can't wait to be out of this place, man. Screw Babylon. Screw oppression, screw captivity, screw unexpected events. Screw grievances, screw this poverty, screw this status, screw wrong judgment, screw everything, man. Screw all this crap. What's it called? I'm waiting for peace. I'm waiting for stability, or actually, wisdom and knowledge should be that's bit at times. But I'm waiting for physical stability, man. Like a palace. I don't even have a home. I live with my family. What's it called? I seek, I want, I desire, I yearn for righteousness, perfection. Healthy, perfect spiritual body that's sinless and has spiritual power, and it's just beautiful as hell. Perfect symmetry and everything, perfect cells, perfect systems, perfect cardiovascular system, perfect augmentary system, perfect everything. Look at these bodies right now; they are corrupt. They all waxing. They all feeble. They all weak. These bodies die. These bodies are fragile. But there's a but to this. In those spiritual bodies, man. Oh boy, that'll be a thing of the past. No more sickness. That'll be a thing of the past. No more anxiety. That'll be a thing of the past. Everything will be awesome. Everything will be all cool, calm and collected, fun and dandy. That's what I wait for. Right, so. Hey, behold thee among the heathen, regard and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which you would not believe, though it be told you. For example, the Markabium, the so-called UFOs being the chariots coming back to deliver the elect. That's a legit thing. People disregard that. They're like, you be smoking too much. Nah, nigga, you be smoking too much, man. What are you talking about? What's it called? Undermining prophecy and whatnot. Dumb as flip, but that's the irony. Anyways, another example which even feels kind of fake to us that do believe is the fact that there will be a kingdom at the end of this. I can always mention the word surreal because they always talk about how everything is going to be so awesome and perfect in the kingdom. It's going to be surreal, man. Hey, but surreal is a new real. It's a new reality. So, that's going to take some, time adjusting and getting used to. But boy, can we? Best believe. But boy, we will get used to it. We will get used to it. Best believe I'll get used to it. And that's what I hope for at the end of the day. So with that being said, I truthfully hope this lesson was edifying. Until the next one, I do say, Shalom.